and welcome to my craft rooms. Nancy B here, together with you celebrating World Cardmaking Day. So one of our favorite crafts to do for sure, I assume since you're here, that you have purchased the World Cardmaking Day Kit. If you haven't, no problem. Just follow along and see if there's some inspirations for you. There's certainly lots here for all. So these are my cards that I created from the kit and with the pieces that I chose for the kit. So I've got this one that says, "Do small things with great love. Love is the only thing stronger than fear. I am with you always. And love, hope, dream." So those are my 4 cards. So in your kit, there's some papers that I'll be showing you, and I'll show you which sentiments that I used to make these cards. In the comments below, I have noted some extras that I used. So all of the instructors chose paper and ephemera from Simply Stated, and that was in the kit. And then we went home and we tried to use some current products to bring these to life, essentially. So in my cards, you're going to see there's going to be some additional papers, which I will refer to as we go. But for, tools and such, you're going to want to have your die cutting machine. You're going to need your paper trimmer, some foam tape, and some tape. I also am going to be using this Prima mahogany wax. I'm also going to be using some twine, so you can use gold or silver thread and some black twine. I've got my plates here already for my platinum. I just wanted to show that I chose a few different, a couple different embossing folders and a couple of different die cuts. So any nesting die cut will do. I chose the fresh picked labels and tag. You could certainly substitute in an oval or a heart, postage stamp, oval, heart, circle. Even just rectangles would be fabulous. You don't have to follow along with that. I really love the Perfect Touch rectangles and tag set, so I'm using that. But again, just any nesting square dies or any sort of edge, stitched edge, whatever edge you love and appreciate and have in your stash is exactly what you need. For the embossing folders, I used the Simon Hurley Damask 3D embossing folder, and then I also used the 3D Cross My Heart embossing folder as well. Okay, so those are some of the extras that I'm going to be using today. I'm just going to put those up here in my reach. Then after that, you can use scraps and whatever you can to make it work in your card kit. So I made the mistake of cutting my page up. So it's got the 4 panels. So I was kind of getting ready to teach, and then I realized, hey, I maybe should have shown you that before I cut it up. But this paper that has these elements on it in the 4 is the paper that I'm going to be using for my cards. So look for this one, the diamonds with the gorgeous, gorgeous sort of decorative look on it. And then, of course, the diamonds, and then this lovely kind of cloudy watercolory one. And this one I actually don't end up using, and there is a couple sentiments I don't use. So there's a little room for your own creativity after I'm done. Okay, so the sentiments that were picked for my use are the ones that kind of look like this. They've got this unfortunately I can't remember the name from Simply Stated, but these are the jewel tone purples and reds with the gold. These ones. There's a couple of frames, some flowers, absolutely gorgeous. And then there's Do Small Things with Great Love, Love, Hope, Dream, I Am With You Always, Love is the Only Thing Stronger Than Fear. Those were my sentiments. And I think there was a couple of bits left over in that pack when we're done too. Other than that, a little bit of paper. So you're going to need some vellum. I just pretty much grabbed, I don't have it all in packaging. I was using stuff that I've used before in my studio. But again, in the comments list, below here, below the video, you'll know exactly what I'm using. So this is a Prism Studio foil. You're going to need some black cardstock, which is included with your kit. But if you happen to have used up some of the black cardstock that is included in your kit because of other people's projects, you might just want to grab another one. This one is called, this pink color is called Quartz, but any sort of pink color would do, or maybe you want to change the color. That's completely up to you, but you're going to need a piece of cardstock. I've prepared 4 card bases already, so hopefully you're good for that. This is the Sizzix Opulent cardstock. So it comes in big packages. I've picked a couple of sheets out, or a sheet out of the silver for a couple of the cards, and I've grabbed some black out of the another pack. These Sizzix Opulent packs are super popular among our teachers, and I think you would find they go a long way in your stash and are worth the investment if you're sitting on the fence. Another thing that I have is just a piece of vellum. So you'll notice mine actually has this sitting in my stash. It got a little damaged. This is actually going to be the perfect time to use that because I'm never going to see that again after I'm done with it. And then of course you've got your white and black cardstock that comes in your kit. Again, if you've used it, great, just grab another couple pieces. Otherwise, yeah, we're good to go, I think. Okay, so the first card, Do Small Things with Great Love. So that one uses this piece of paper here, and then I'm going to need, so I just kind of grabbed a scrap that was big enough of the foil cardstock. So any reddish, this here is just some, this is obviously probably what see look, this is what I cut from, so I just had some left over. This is just that best ever craft tape. I must have used it to secure mine down. Then I'm going to need the vellum. So for the vellum, I don't really necessarily want to put an entire sheet through, so I'm just going to cut it in half. So I know it's 8.5 by 11, so I'm going to cut it down along the 11-inch side to 5.5 so that it can go through my trimmer. Okay, so I'll keep one and put the other aside. Over here. I'm just gonna, like I said, I'm gonna keep that vellum to the side because I have no idea if I'm gonna need it again for one of my other cards. I'm guessing I might. Okay, so I'm just gonna put these other cards up. So our card base is, well, our first layer on the card is this paper here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run that through my die cutting machine. Using the Perfect Touch die. Okay, so the biggest one of the set is the standard cards, essentially Canadian US. We love our 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card fronts. So I'm just going to center the biggest one of the set in my paper. I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to grab, I do like to use my best ever Spellbinders tape to hold down, just to keep things safe and in place. You don't need a lot, I just don't want it to move. So I've got it ready and I'm just going to run that through my machine. I think one of the things that always startles people who haven't die cut before with any of these machines is that big noise that it makes. But yes, it does make a big noise. So now I've got my card panel. I'll just put this So that'll cover beautifully over the front of my card base. So what I like to do at this point, just to show you, is sometimes what happens when we make our card bases is we don't make them, they're not perfect, right? You do your best, you cut them, like I'm even looking at this one, the fold isn't perfect. So what I might do is I might just kind of make sure that I'm happy with the fold in the card base. Grab my bone folder, give it a good, make sure that it's, you know, that these edges are even. And then what I do is I have a bit of overhang. If I don't necessarily love that, now is a good time to just kind of trim off just that smidgy that's hanging over. There we go. And then the final thing that I'll do is I'll make sure that my card panel is going to cover up the card base, because nobody's going to flip my card open and go, oh, that card base isn't matching that card front. But what they might do is notice that if my card base is peeking out on my card front, right? So I'm just going to kind of make sure that that's going to all be clean and going to be nice, and it is. So I'm good to go on that. I don't use this again, so I'm going to put it aside for my next cards. Now I notice that I have this and the vellum that I have for the next layer that I want to do. So I'm actually going to prepare the vellum before I cut it. So I have, if you look in my original, you can look really close, I have actually embossed that vellum. Okay, now I am using right now the Prism Studio vellum. It is nice and it does emboss really nicely. Some vellum, you know, maybe it was older vellum. Like I haven't generally had a huge problem with vellum, but periodically it can crack on you. But anyways, this vellum I haven't had any trouble with whatsoever. So I'm just going to load this in. I've got a nice, like I said, I got that nice big half sheet. I do happen to know that I use this twice. So I'm going to emboss the entire sheet, cut out what I need for this card, and then save the scraps for another card. So, but what I am going to do too, and this is a trick that I do this on all paper and pretty much anything that I put through my embossing folders, is I'm just going to put this aside so I don't get it soaked, but I'm just going to give it just a simple quick mist. So I'm really high up and letting it kind of mist down on there. What that does is it helps prepare the paper, and it does actually emboss just a little bit better, especially with vellum. I think you're gonna again, if you're worried about cracking, even just that little mist can help a lot. I'm going to refer to my platform to see what my sandwich needs to be. So for a 3D embossing folder, it says I need the platform base, my 3D embossing folder with paper inside, and then my adapter plate. So I'm going to grab that, and I'll put those through my machine. When in doubt, do it twice. Okay, so now I've got this gorgeous, gorgeous piece of paper ready for me to use on my card. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this aside. Again, I got stuff out for my cards, and I'm not sure how many times I use them, so I'm just going to keep it within reach. Put this up. I know I'm going to be die cutting, so I'm going to grab my plates and my platform top. And now what I want to do is create this element. So I've got the vellum there and then the foil behind it. So I need 2 of these fresh picked labels and tag dies of 2 different sizes. So I'm going to turn it over, pull it out, take a look. So obviously I have the card here, so I can say, okay, that must be the vellum one, and I'll move, was it 1 up or 2 up? Looks like 1 up to do the foil. Now if I was actually sitting here and designing the card and didn't have a card to refer to, what I would probably do is just take my card front and then lay this out just like this to just get a sense of, does it fit, is it the right size, and now I would know it's good to go. Okay, so I want the small one to be vellum. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, so notice with the damask, I kind of, yeah, it's not critical. Like sometimes what I might want to do if I was concerned about how it shows is center my die so that the pattern shows, well, properly, or so in a way that I would like. In this case, I've got so much going on. It's just a pattern or a texture in the background, so I'm not going to worry about it as much. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put it down in the lower corner, which will leave me lots of extra to use for other cards and bits and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and tape that down. I'm going to load this into my plates. And voila, I've got the vellum piece. So I do like to keep and reuse my Spellbinders tape, especially, you know, in one session. I may not use it, you know, next time I sit down, but I'll just sort of put it on my machine and have it ready. I'm going to put this aside. Then I need the big one. So this is the size up, done out of the red foil. And again, so if you happen, for something like this, it is, the foil itself is not showing a significant amount, it's just a little edge. So if you have foil in your stash that's kind of got gouges in it like mine does, this is a perfect use for it because you're never going to see the whole thing. You actually get to kind of use up some of those bits and pieces that maybe you're not quite as happy with, but then nobody would ever know, right? Okay, so I'm going to put this back. Garbage. Tapey tape. So essentially we are already down to the assembly of this card. So again, vellum can be a bit challenging in the fact that if I just put a bead of glue or a piece of tape down there, it is see-through and you will see it. Okay, so lots of people talk about that with vellum as being one of their challenges. I try to work that into the design. So if I know I'm going to be putting something over top of it, I try to hide the glue spot with, like, say in this case, I'm going to hide it with these flowers, right? The other thing that I will do, and it does seem to work quite well, is I'll take, hopefully I got my glue gun working. Oh, good. So I'll take some glue like that, And then I'll actually kind of use my finger and smoosh it on. Not too hard. I don't want to deboss my embossing, but I'm just sort of spreading it across. And now it's just got a little bit of tack, and I'm just going to put it down. But I haven't got like one significant section of glue that's going to kind of show up through the vellum this way. There is a vellum tape that has been on the market. I never thought that it worked as well as the crafters had hoped. It does okay. It does okay, but as you can see, you can still see the glue, but that's also kind of still in the drying stages. But again, I'm going to have that covered once I get those flowers, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. So the next part I need to do is get these flowers out, figure out which ones I used. Okay, so matchy match. I used, sorry, I'm just double checking how many I used. I used one bit of ephemera, and it was this one. And then I used the Do Small Things with Great Love. Okay, I'll put that aside. So first things first, I'm going to put the flowers down with some foam tape. So if you have foam tape, foam squares, whatever works, just bring it off that background for a bit of dimension. Just like about there. So then the next thing I'm going to grab is some of the black twine that you see kind of wrapped around. I'll show you a little closer. You can see I've got it kind of wrapped around this die cut. So I just need, oh, it looks like I'm starting a brand new one. Just thinking as I brought the scissors up how horrible it would be if I slipped and cut myself. And sometimes, I'm sure everybody gets this, they feel like that's their luck that day. Okay. Sorry guys, just a sec. Ta-da! Okay, so I want both. So how I measure my string is I'm going to want to wrap it 3 or 4 times, and then I'm going to need some extra for tying the bow. And I don't know, I got fingernails and fat fingers, so I need a little extra for that. So what I'll do is I'll kind of go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then double that and a bit more, because you got to account for the back, right? So now what I'm going to do, and I may have way too much here, but that's okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this, and I'm going to kind of feed it up underneath the leaves so that this leaf is sticking out over top, but then I'm going to actually go over the top of this leaf. And now I'm just going to wrap, maybe even crisscross a bit. I can go over the top of the leaf once. So as many or as few times as you like, and then just there we go. Okay, so I'm fiddle-faddling with it now to get it to sit in about the middle. So I've got the two meeting, and just do your normal tie your shoe bow. So often what I'll do is, because sometimes these can be picky and difficult, is I'll actually do the double knot first, and then I know that it's secure and it's not going to go anywhere. And then I'll go ahead and just add a bow. So you can do the bow however you like to do a bow. You don't even have to do a bow if you don't want to. Then I sort of adjust the bow because I never get it right the first time. So I'm going to play with it, make sure that it's, you know, the bow loops are exactly how I like them. And then finally, I just trim off the excess. And I did pretty good. That's not a lot of excess. Okay, so then finally, you're just going to want to put the Do Small Things with Great Love. All I did for that was just a little bit of glue right where the sentiment part is, and then placed it down there. Like that, and then this whole thing. So now this is where you can make your own decision. You can actually have this pop off, have it extra dimension, but I figure because I already have dimensional tape behind the flowers, like there are lots of cards out there and they're beautiful that have dimension on dimension on dimension. But the problem can be that if you start putting too much dimension in, then you get a nice fat card, which is beautiful but isn't as mail friendly, right? So meaning postal mail friendly. So I'm going to err on the side of probably going to have to mail this to somebody. So I won't put 3 layers of dimension. I'll just keep it down to 1 or 2. Then I'm going to put this down. Even then, this cord is going to give a little bit. And there you have it. So all I have to do now, which I'm not going to bother doing on camera, but just put that on my card base with some double-sided adhesive or glue, and I've got myself the first card. Okay? So our next card that I'm going to work with you on is Love is the only thing stronger than fear. Okay? So this one, we start with, sorry, let me regroup here a little. We're going to, obviously you're going to need your card base. The first layer is this piece here from your sheet of Simply Stated paper. The second one, you're also going to need this sheet. So these 2 panels so this one has the diamonds in it, kind of tone on tone diamonds, and this one has those gorgeous clouds sort of scenario. You're also going to want, so I'm using this from the Sizzix Opulent, a chrome, or any one of them. Like you could go with glitter, foil, whatever. Whichever one speaks to you in a pack, that's cool. Just go ahead and cut that in half. This particular one is actually not a little bit bigger than 8.5 by 11, but I do know 5.5 goes through my cutting machine really nicely, so I'll have that. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about which pieces I used for that. This one should come together pretty quickly. It's nice and simple. So again, I'm just going to double check my card base, see that I'm happy with it. Looks pretty good. The only thing I need to do to this is cut it down to fit my card base. So 4.25 by 5.5 is what I'm going to cut this down to. I'm going to admit that I sometimes even cheat on that front panel for the reasons I already said. It's better to err on the side of this panel being too big than too small and having that white, stark white show. So what I might do is take my I'll measure up to 4.25 and then kind of push just a smidgy, like a millimeter over. And now I know that it should cover this for sure. So 5.5 and then maybe like a millimeter or two. If it doesn't, there's still always ways around that. So I'm just going to go ahead and check that I got it. Looking good, right? So if it happens to be too small, what I can do is I have even mounted the paper down and then trimmed down both of them together so that they match. Just another little trick to make things work for myself. So next I'm going to want the Perfect Touch labels and tags. And I just want to check something here because I have a feeling okay. See here, I've got a frame and then a panel. So I've used this piece of paper. I stacked my my stacking dies in and cut at the same time to get these two separate pieces of paper. So I want to make sure that I get that right. So I'm just going to put this aside and get out the right dies. So to start with, I would have used, to get this frame, the big one, the biggest one. Oh no, don't, be careful, Nance. Anyway, the biggest one so that it covers the whole card front. So that is that. But then I still had to cut out this window, which became this panel on this card. So I'm going to see if I can match. Yes. So that one is 2 down. So if you look in the package, I've got, this is the big one that I'm using from the biggest one, and then I skip one, and then I grabbed the one down. So that gives me that nice, I think that's probably only like about a 1/2 inch border for that frame. So that one and that one. So if you have nesting dies, what you're going to want to do, and you don't have necessarily this particular one, just lay out and just see like this. So I've got, that would be the amount for the frame. Does that look like enough? Are you happy with that? And I was, so I went with it. But if you're using a different set of dies, you might want to lay them out just to see before you cut so that you know it's going where you want. Then I'm going to load this up, let's see, into my die cutting machine. But what I want to do is I'm going to take I'm going to put my paper down. And this is again where if you have a magnetic, one of those lucky people, you might not need this, but I do like to have my Spellbinders tape. I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to put a smidgen of tape on the paper so that it doesn't move. So this is, I'm being a little extra here, but that's okay because I'm going to get 2 cards out of it. I'm going to put this frame down first, and then I'm going to just secure it. So in this case, I really want to make sure as I'm placing my die that the diamonds are not going to look wonky. So I don't want this to end up, there's not a lot of room for this to happen on this particular paper, but if I was thinking about this for design, I really want these diamonds to go really nice straight lines. I don't want them to come out cut like this and then I have to put them all slanty on my card. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to make sure that the diamonds are kind of nicely oriented up and down, and then I'm just going to position that again, another piece of tape, and then I'm going to put this in the middle, and I'm going to have another piece of tape. Yes, I'm taping a lot. I'm going to hold this down and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to center this as best I can. I know that I could spend hours at this trying to be perfect, but this can be one of those times where good enough is good enough, right? So, but I am going to go ahead and I'm going to tape the two down at the same time, just to make sure that those aren't going to move. Now, I'm going to hold my mouth the right way, hope nothing changes, and I'm going to put this through. So now I should have two beautiful pieces for my cards. So the key with getting the tape off to not ruin is to stay, so this is something I learned from painting walls, is you don't actually just lift off the tape, you actually stay close and kind of pull it back at an angle. And that really helps. Oh, see, it's still lifting a little bit on me, a little bit, but that's why I really stayed to where the scrap of the paper is when I taped and on the die. So I don't try to actually make sure there isn't a lot of tape on any part that I'm going to want to have show on the card. If by chance I do, like over here, I might make sure that that's a used once piece, one of these pieces right here. Okay, so now I've got a panel that I can use on the card that we're working on right there, and I've got this frame that I'm going to put aside for our fourth card. Okay, so I'm just going to put that up here, hopefully not lose it, and just continue to try to stay tidy, put things away. Yes, I know, crafter math is real. All right, so before I put my plates away, I want one more cut. So I used this die and this die. So now I want the one that was in the middle. Okay, so this is going to act as a mat for the panel. So I've got my background, and then a mat, and then the panel, this panel. So I need the middle one. So I've used the biggest one. This is the middle one, and that's the next one. So I'm referring to it as the middle one relatively to each other. Obviously it's not the middle die. This one is actually the middle one, but hopefully that's clear. But I need a piece of the Sizzix Opulent, so I can just, I'm not going to worry too much about it. If I'm getting tight to edges like this so that I can not waste, then I do definitely tape down. If I'm not afraid of it, like if it was to shift on something, and then I don't. I actually will cut a corner there. But let's go ahead and tape that like I did. Run this through. All right. a bit of trouble, and I'm pretty sure usually it's my plates. So obviously plates warp over time. So if they start to warp and then they're warping up, it can be harder to get your, so if I have this in this way so that it's bowing up, it can be harder to push through your machine. So if I want to, if I'm struggling a little bit too much, I might want to make sure that I have it go the other way. And then another time, what I might do is try to equalize out some of what's going on by putting these through like this so that I can flatten them back the other way, but I might not have anything in there. I'm just kind of trying to work. There we go. So there is that. Anyway, to try to help flatten them or keep them flat. But it is an ongoing struggle. But I do find these plates pretty darn good over time. I've done a lot of cutting, and they do need to be replaced eventually, so there's always that. Okay, so I've got my base. I put my So lots of people ask me what I like, when do I use glue, when do I use tape? I find them to be quite somewhat interchangeable. I use glue for fine detail, tape for paper to paper, and definitely on photos I use tape. Then it's just kind of a judgment call, or a preference, I guess. So I do find that if I were to take the glue and go like this across here, there is a reasonable possibility that you could see that bead of glue through the paper later. So I do like tape for bigger sort of pieces more often. Okay. Now see, I kind of messed up and you can see that white, so I'm just gonna nobody's gonna come along and measure my card and say, Nancy, that's not 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It's still 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but you can't see the white now. All right, this panel goes in the center of this panel. I'm gonna actually do this one with some of my foam tape. This is going to go in the center with normal tape. Now all I have to do is add the flowers and the sentiment. So let's see. tidy and I'll be able to find it, I promise. Oh, goodness. I found it and then dumped it all over my desk. But anyway, so you just need pretty much, this is 2. So this has got this swag style, and then it's got okay, so this one here that has the pink flower, this ends up getting covered up, but this one goes on first, and then you take this swag style one and you're going to layer it over, and then finally you will put love is the only thing stronger than fear right there. So I'm going to keep using dimensional tape. That's one place I love some dimensional tape is on the ephemera. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put down this first one. See, by itself, it didn't seem like enough. It just kind of needed some more. So that's where I ended up double layering that up. It's going to look great. So put that there like that, kind of center top half. Then I'm going to take, I'm actually going to dimension on dimension this time and put this one across the bottom. So there you go. And then love is the only thing stronger than fear. Sentiment. And now I have 2 of 4 cards done. Ta-da! Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to stop our taping right now and come back and do the last 2. So this will be our part 1, and then we're going to have a part 2. So this will all be easier for uploading. All right, thanks so much. Talk to you in a second.